all of you. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. Welcome to last lap to XAT. We'll be talking about tackling RCs in XAT. Right? So what are we going to do in this session? Let me just see if you can see me and hear me. Give me a thumbs up. How many of you here who can see me and hear me? Tell me if I'm audible and we'll start the session. We are going to look at the different types of RCs asked in XAT, and we're going to look at ways to maximize attempts and accuracy in XAT. Good evening, Gaurav, Jaydev. All right, so CAT is done. Our next snap is done. NMAT is done. But we have a big, very important exam in XAT, and with the right strategy, you will do very well in XAT. XAT is a tougher exam than CAT as far as English and CR are concerned. At the same time, it is also better because it is more predictable. All right. Therefore, you need to just look at the right strategy. All right. Let's just look at what XAT 2022 had in store for us. XAT 2022 was actually a lot of fun. The passages were fantastic. They were so interesting to read that I knew the passage was going to be tough, but I couldn't stop reading it. And that was the impression that students also had. There was a passage on, well, that's not a swear word, it was given. We'll talk about that. So RCs were 4 RC passages with 3 questions each. If you could get at least, so basically out of 12 questions, you can get 8 questions right with the right kind of reading, your RCs are taken care of. You had 2 poems, one was easy, one was tough, as usual. So you can expect the same thing in this year also. There were 4 critical reasoning questions. Now the surprising thing last year was all the critical reasoning questions were conclusion based. Even the year before that, the critical reasoning questions were all conclusion based. And you know that conclusion and inference based critical reasoning questions are the easiest to solve. They are much easier than, let's say, resolve the paradox, parallel logic, or even an assumption question. Parajumbles, after the horrors of CAT, parajumbles in XAT, you have options. So fantastic. But the negative is there are 5-sentence parajumbles. They take a little time. Last year, I'm not very good at parajumbles. I take a long time over parajumbles. But I found the parajumbles very easy. In fact, I got both my parajumbles right. The fill in the blanks were an absolute joy to solve. They were not difficult in terms of the words. You only had to understand the meaning of the sentence and use your common sense to fill in the blanks. Now, today, since I'm going to talk about RCs, what was the reading comprehension like in XAT last year? As I told you, the passages were very interesting. They were a lot of fun to read. 12 passages, none of the passages could be called very difficult. The difficulty was only in 2 questions. So let's say you had 3 questions and you could read the passages are short in XAT. They're not as long as they are in CAT. So you have 300 word passages, 250 word passages, so you can read it really fast. There was one on stupidity. Out of the 3 questions, 2 were doable, 1 was a little tricky. So if you were not sure of the answers, you could leave it. But I will tell you how we're going to eliminate options and come to the right one. There was a passage on bullshitting and lying, which I have chosen today, and I'll tell you where the trick was, where students missed out getting points. Then the other 2 were slightly longer, had a lot of terms in it, one on hedonic life and the other on publicness and sociability and privacy, which were also doable. Out of the poems, Mistaken Love was easier. I had a voice, now I have legs, had a lot of, there were layers and layers of meanings in that poem. So 1 question you could have attempted out of the 2, right? Therefore, how can we tackle the unattempted questions means what, Satyansh? As in, how do I figure out which questions to answer, which not to? When you find that, there are 2 things. Like when I read a passage and I find a question, let's say, what is the main theme of the poem they asked in the one on Fish and Identity, which was the second one. Let me just tell you what was that passage. I had a voice, now I have legs, right? The second poem was difficult. What is the passage all about? I have chosen that passage today to explain to you. So when I read the poem, Satyansh, there is negative for unattempted, but you can't escape it, right? I mean, would you rather get more negative marks by attempting it? You won't have the time to solve all questions anyway. So the first few questions you just start solving, solve to the best of your ability. In some, take a guess in terms of, okay, this is close, this is also close, which of the words here means negative? But don't spend too much time, otherwise you will not be able to maximize your attempts. That is the problem with XAT. If you end up doing all the questions, then you get more negative marks because you got them wrong, right? So what you need to do is do the easier questions first, right? So in English, I would not say the way you do round 1, round 2, round 3 in maths would work, but I would read a passage. The passages can be done in 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes you can read a passage. There was one on theme, for example. The one on I had a voice, I have legs, I'll give it to you. The theme was slightly tricky because it involved knowing the meaning of the author, and when it's a poem, you and I would find it difficult because, well, most people, unless you're really into literature and linguistics, how do I know what the poet means? I would look at it at face value. So then what would happen is, that is one question I know if I attempt it also, my chances of getting it wrong are higher. Therefore, I'm not going to spend a lot of questions. All right. Is it minus 0.1 for an unattempted and 0.25 for wrong? All right, sort of, then you decide. Then you decide which is the better one. All right, for me, I didn't know. I always thought that, your negative for getting it incorrect is higher. Me and my maths. All right. Okay, then mark. Right? If it is wise to guess, if you will be stuck between two options only. Always the problem with most students is not that you don't know the answer at all. Out of the 5 options, 3 options you can easily eliminate. You're always caught between A and B or B and C. So then let's now decide, how do I increase my accuracy in those close options, right? Saurabh, let's look at that. All right. Moderate passages, no, I'm not going to look at this. Let's solve an RC from last year. Now, what I would do is, I'm going to show you each slide for, I hope you haven't done it before, even if you've done it before. All right. Read this. Each one I will give you about 45 seconds. All right. 45 seconds. I'm not able to read on the screen, so I'm going to give you 45 seconds for each slide. And then we'll look at, yeah, I can read it. Okay. More negative for wrong, Akshat Jain says, I always thought that. Yeah, I always thought more negative marking for wrong. Are you done with the slide? All right. Now, when you read this slide, how are you going to summarize it, right? You know, old school, old lady speaks the same thing every time. Works for me, and I hope it will work for you. When you read a passage, remember, say it to yourself. And what do you say to yourself? Only the main points, right? So what does the first slide say? What bullshit essentially misrepresents? Oh, why is it red? I don't want red. Okay, ink color is blue. Okay, what bullshit? Why is it again turning red? What bullshit essentially misrepresents is neither the state of affairs to which it refers to nor the belief of the speaker concerning that state of affairs. The bullshit does not misrepresent either the state of affairs, the things as they are, nor the belief of the speaker. Remember this. Those are what lies misrepresent. Here itself you are getting a very big difference between lying and bullshitting. Alright, next. By virtue of being false, that is what the liar misrepresents, not the bullshitter. Since bullshit need not be false, it differs from lies in its misrepresentational intent. It is the intent, it is the purpose of the misrepresentation that is different for a bullshitter and a liar. The bullshitter may not deceive us nor intend to, okay, either about the facts or what he thinks are the facts. What he does necessarily attempt to deceive us about is his enterprise, his role, his purpose. His enterprise means that his only indispensably distinctive characteristic is that in a certain way he misrepresents what he is up to. If you've understood this much, you can answer all the questions in the passage. 20% of the passage is what you need to understand to know the end, to answer 80% of the questions. That is the rule which seems to work even now. Alright, so remember that. Intent. He is not bothered about the state of affairs, whether it is true or false. He doesn't care about that. What he deceives you is about his intent, what he is up to. That is where he deceives you. That is the crux of the distinction between him and the liar. Both he and the liar represent themselves falsely as endeavoring to communicate the truth. Both of them try to tell you that, look, we are trying to tell you the truth. The success of each depends on deceiving us about that. But the fact about himself that the liar hides is that he is attempting to lead us away from the correct apprehension of reality or the truth. We are not to know that he wants us to believe something he supposes to be false. Read the next part. Read the next part again in 40-45 seconds. Summarize it to yourself. I am not going to summarize the second paragraph for you. 45 seconds. All right. Now, second paragraph you've read. I hope you've summarized it. Let's look at the first question. All right. Which of the following statements can be best inferred from the passage? Please read the options. Both the liar and the bullshitter misrepresent the truth. Can that be inferred? Both the liar and the bullshitter are guided by the truth. Can that be inferred? Both the liar and the bullshitter are not bound by any conviction. Both the liar and the bullshitter live in their own world of realities, or both the liar and the bullshitter intend to deceive in their own ways. Which of these can be inferred? That means only one can be inferred. One is definitely true based on the facts given in the passage. The others may be true, may not be true, or are false. Give me your answers quickly. Alright, Jatin and Jaydev believe it's E. My question to you, why not A? Why not A? Shubham also thinks it's E. Okay. Give me an answer. Why did you eliminate A? Why did you eliminate A? Which line? Darshan thinks it's A. So, Darshan, why not E? The first line of the passage. Darshan, did you join us? Sunit also thinks it's A. Alright. So, Jaydev, Jatin, Saurav, Shubham think it's E. But Darshan and Sunit think it's A and Gaurav is crying. Let's find out. Okay. First part. Both of them don't misrepresent the truth. It's only the liar who misrepresents the truth. The bullshitter, it's written here, does not deceive us, does not even believe in. He essentially misrepresents not the truth or anything else. All he wants to deceive us is his intent. What he wants to get out of the situation is what he deceives you about. So he does not misrepresent the truth. He's not bothered about it. Understood? Here he says what he misrepresents is neither the state of affairs. State of affairs is what? The fact, the truth. He doesn't. He's not bothered about it. Nor the belief of the speaker concerning that affair, nor his own belief about it. He's not bothered about that. He deceives you only about what his whole point in that exercise is. Why is he bullshitting? He doesn't want you to know that. He deceives you there. Got it? So A is not the answer. Next, why not B? Both are guided by the truth. No, only the liar is guided by the truth. He knows what is the truth, but he leads you away from the truth. That's why in the passage he says, the liar in some ways respects the truth. Because he knows what the truth is and he tries to take you away from it. They are not bound by any conviction. The conviction part is about the bullshitter. He's not bothered about the true state of affairs. He's not. So the conviction part is not about both. Both live in their own worlds of realities is irrelevant. But both want to deceive for different reasons. That is why it is E. Okay. In the exam, this was the point that most students made a mistake. A or E, they were deliberating between A and E, and many marked A instead of E. Alright, next one. I will take you back to the passage. You just tell me first or second. Alright, which slot was it, Jaydev? Which slot was in CAT 22 were you in? And the key is focus on that day. The focus, get your reading correct. Remember, in any reading, it's the main point. Alright, let's try today's passage and see how you're doing. I'm going to show you both the slot 3. Okay. I'm going to show you both the slides. Tell me which one will help you answer this question. Why does the author say the bullshitter's intention is neither to report the truth nor to conceal it, right? Whenever he gives a quote from the passage, I'm going to take you back to the passage. Alright, some of you have solved this before, but the point was I had to show you the passage. So where is the truth part of it? Here, in the second paragraph. Why is his intention neither to report the truth nor to conceal it? Neither do I try to tell you the truth, express it, nor do I hide it. If it's a bullshitter, why? That's what the author is asking. So he has given that this is what he does, and the question is, why do you think he does it? Right? So read that part. The bullshitter hides is that the truth values of his statement are of no central interest to him. What we are not to understand is he is not interested in the truth. Right? So no central interest to him. He is not interested in the truth. Which of the options is closest to that? Which of the options? He is not concerned with the truth, right? Good. Now, which of the options, Jaydev, Saurav, now tell me which one is closest to not bothered about the truth? Darshan, Sunil, everyone, give me your answers now. Sunit, sorry. Which option goes with not bothered about the truth? It is C. He does not find it useful, not bothered about it, indifferent to it. He does not, not convinced, he didn't say. No knowledge of the truth, he doesn't say. Do not like to deceive is out. Respectful is about liars. Therefore, by elimination also you have C. All of you clear? Good. Next one. This was one of the toughest questions. Many students got this wrong. Okay, many of us got it wrong. Forget students. What will a lie, under what conditions will a liar turn into a moderate? Gaurav, moderate because the passages were very easy to read, or we felt because they were very interesting. But when you came to the questions, XAT lived up to its reputation. Vague answers, close options, could be interpreted either way. Therefore, when would a liar turn into a bullshitter? Now here, even if you've seen the passage before, look at the differences between a liar and a bullshitter to come to this answer. Okay? That is what you should, even if you've seen the passage before, I don't want you to give me the answer without thinking, because then it would be ridiculous. Right? What are the main differences between a liar and a bullshitter? First one is, one of them is not misrepresenting the state of affairs nor his beliefs. Right? Only a liar misrepresents the state of affairs and his beliefs. Number one. Second, he may not deceive us or even intend to deceive us. The passages were easy questions, but passages were moderate, Gaurav. This passage was a little easier, we thought, but it wasn't. Passages were of moderate difficulty, questions were moderate also, because overall you had to see. Moderate to difficult. The options were very close. Always in XAT, that is the point, that the passage on stupidity was short, so you could finish reading it in 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes. But for each question, you had to keep going back to the passage, reading that line and deciding, is it because of this? Is it because of this? Same thing with this liar thing. You had to go back and see, okay, when will a liar turn into a bullshitter? You have to see. One is, this is what this guy does. So the key is in the intention, right? So therefore, when will a liar turn into a bullshitter is when that intention, oh, we did that. When he only focuses on what he is up to, on his own intention and outcome, not with telling lies. Lies is to misrepresent the truth. But a bullshitter is the intent. What he gets out of it, that is the more important thing. He's not bothered with the truth. So liar can get into that category when he has something to gain from it, when he has some reason he is doing it, and therefore the outcome is what is important. Right? So this was not that easy. We had to read the passage 2-3 times to decide which one was it. And you could leave this question because it will take you a long time to come to that answer. Alright? Okay. Poem. Now, whenever you come across a poem, one of the things, I had answered it, though I didn't want to, because I answer all the questions when I take the test. Okay? Why eliminate E, Jatin? Where is E? When a liar lies to people about their intention, but the bullshitter also doesn't tell you his intention, right? The liar just takes you away from the truth. So the liar is anyway not telling people anything about his intentions. The intention part of it is not there in the liar. The intention part of it has only been mentioned in terms of the bullshitter. The liar just deviates from what he believes is the truth. He knows what is the truth and he wants to take you away from it. So he knows the truth or thinks he knows the truth, and he tells you the lies about it. The other guy, on the other hand, is not bothered about the truth. Right? So when a liar lies to people about their intention, the intent doesn't even come into it, no? The intention doesn't even come into it, Jatin, where a liar is involved. When a liar lying to people about their intention, so his intention is just to deviate you from the truth, deceive you about the truth. Here, the bullshitter's only reason for what he does is he deceives you about what he gets from it. So the outcome, what does he get from it, is important. So when a liar keeps that in mind, that is when he turns to that category. Understood? Not that easy to figure out. Now, whenever you get a poem, remember, a poem takes 1/4 the time to read compared to a passage. So it's always a good idea to read a poem. And whatever you don't understand, please don't try to figure out what it means. For example, the second line here. Ask me now, I'll tell you I don't know. What does it matter? मेरे को पता नहीं, I don't even have to know it. If there's a question on it, I don't understand it, I'm not going to work on it. Right? So just read. Put it in your own words. What do you think the poet is saying? You can answer in that 1 minute that you read the poem, you can answer at least 1 out of 3 questions, which I think is very good return on investment for the time you spent on it, right? It hurts to walk on new legs, the curse of consonant, the wobble of vowels. What does it mean? That he's walking on new legs, fine. Where do consonants and vowels come out of it? Some poet can probably explain. I don't know. I'm not going to bother understanding that line. Okay, next. For you and you, for whom I gave up a kingdom. ये तो समझ में आया. The poet is speaking to somebody. So when the person who is speaking in a poem is called the protagonist, you can call it the poet. The poet is addressing somebody and saying, for you, I gave up a kingdom for you. All right? Can never love that thing I was. I gave up my kingdom for you. You cannot love what I was before I gave that up, because for she or he made her give up and something, an entire kingdom. If that person had liked what he or she was earlier, he wouldn't have made him sacrifice it, right? So for you, for whom I gave up a kingdom, can never love that thing I was. What I was in the past, before I got my new legs, you can never appreciate it. When you look into my past, she's telling the girl or the boy, whoever, I don't know which, you see only weeds and scales. Now, the moment I read this, scales reminded you of fish. Is he talking about a mermaid turned into a human being? Right? I don't know. Scales and weeds, matlab kya hai? Okay, I didn't understand. Leave it. The next line. Once I had a voice, now I have legs. Now, I have no voice in my house. Does it really mean voice? So what does voice stand for? Just think. Once I had a voice, now I have legs. So think of it. First the person had vocal cords, and instead of vocal cords had legs. Do you really interpret it that way? Or you think, okay, voice might be opinion, identity, personality. Fair enough or not? Did I think too far when I thought like this? 1. The poet sacrificed his vocal cords for legs. No. Freedom of speech, opinion, identity, personality. For the sake of mobility or legs maybe. Whatever. Sometimes I wonder, was it a fair trade? I gave up my voice to get legs. I wonder, did I make the right choice? Was it worth all this sacrifice? Itna to samajh mein aaya? That's enough. Let's now look at the questions. Now, how much time did it take for us to read this? 1/4 the time it took for us to read the liar and this, that, all that junk. It took us 1/4 the time. So whenever you see a poem, don't run away from it. At the same time, Don't try to read too much into a poem. जो समझ में आया कर लो, जो नहीं आया leave it, because you end up getting minus marks. I didn't bother about consonants, wobbly vowels. It did strike me that, scales and weeds might be seaweed and scales for a fish. Has it something to do with a mermaid who turned into a human being? Maybe. I don't know. All right. Best reflects the theme of the poem. I gave up a kingdom for you. You will not appreciate or love what I was in the past. In the past, I had a voice. Now I have legs. I am wondering if it was worth this trade-off. Was it worth it? Correct? It will be out anytime now, Sarthak. Somebody, slot 3, I'm sure. Analysis, they'll give you a written version. I'm sure. I thought Nikita did an analysis of English. She must have done. 6:30 she was supposed to do. Right? So our quest for love is accompanied with pain. Is it A? Or nostalgic recollection? It is a nostalgic recollection. Undermines materialistic gains. Was there anything mentioned in the passage about materialistic gains? No. Our loss of identity is irreparable. Maybe. It is to do 4:30 to 5:30. I'm sure you will get the written analysis at least, right? Our loss of identity is irreparable. The poet lost his identity. And don't you think irreparable may be too strong a word, an extreme word? We told you look out for extreme words. As the future unfolds, our distant past looks pleasant. The poet thinks of the distant past, but future unfolding. Our concern for loss is more than what we gain. Did the author gain anything? More, he said. I wonder if the trade is worth it. D kaise hua, Shubham? Future, his distant past is, how do you know it's a distant past? It might be a recent past also. His new legs are still hurting him. Right? He lost, true. But is it his distant past? He's saying his new legs still hurt, he or she, whoever it is. Therefore, yes, he gave up a kingdom for somebody, she gave up a kingdom for somebody, and now maybe having regrets, maybe going through pain. So this seems the best of bad options as far as we can make out. Every other option has a word which puts a sense of doubt in our heads. Materialistic gains hasn't been mentioned. Irreparable, can I use this? I'm not saying. Distant past, can I say that? And is the future unfolding? He's talking about now. He's not talking about the future, so I'm not happy with this. Okay, more than what we gain. He's wondering, is it worth it? He didn't say this was better than this, therefore this is not there. So even after elimination, you're stuck with two options. No, here you are left with only one, which makes most sense. Therefore, A is your answer. And for answering this, you didn't take too much time either. Next one. What does the author best mean by once I had a voice, now I have legs? Okay, the poet puts less value on the new world. The poet is contemplative of his or her identity, which is why they have written their identity. The poet's actions speak louder than their words now. The poet's indecisive about choosing between the two worlds, or the poet has lost their speech. Which one do you think is the right answer? And I want you to justify it. Okay, Riddha thinks it's E. Earlier I had a voice, now I have legs. Does it mean literally that the poet has become dumb, Riddha? The poet has lost their speech. Voice is different from speech. Do you think the poet literally means that I've become dumb? No. So this becomes a little too literal. Understood? Once I had a voice, now I have less becomes too literal. He's not saying speech. Then say I have forgotten how to speak. I had a voice. We told you voice is not to do with just speaking. Voice also has to probably do with identity, opinion, freedom to speak out. Could be anything. Again, I'm talking as a student who's taking the test. I have not read this poem. I have not done any analysis. So we are just reading it and we say not E. Indecisive about choosing between the two worlds. He has already chosen. अच्छा D क्यों नहीं होगा? He or she has already chosen. She has given up the kingdom and moved here. So where is the indecisiveness there? He or she has already made the sacrifice. Therefore not indecisive. Regret does not mean indecisive. Did I make the right choice? I am A, B, दोनों मिल गया. What do I do? That's a good place to be in. I am A, B, XM, XLRI, and you wanted to do HR all your life. Then it becomes a tough choice, right? Okay, next. Actions speak louder than words now. Really? Earlier I had legs. Do legs stand for actions? Okay, earlier I had a voice. Now I have legs. So this is the other way around. Understood? Therefore, contemplative of identity, less value on the new world. Why? He just says, I have traded A for B. Therefore, you would say identity, voice, personality, whatever. Therefore, B is the best of bad options. Got it? So, when you eliminate options, you're literally talking to yourself. And it can be pretty bizarre. Because you're always second guessing yourself, especially in this. Took me a long way. Is it this? Okay, I'm eliminating it. But when you are come out of the hall, you're never sure I marked it right. So when we sit together and we start discussing the answers, then you say, this is not at all an easy one. Absolutely not an easy one. At the same time, if you spend so much time to think about it, you'd come to the right answer. So when you've read the poem and you say, I've thought of it as identity, I've thought of it as this, always in a poem, it's worth the time that you read the poem. Got it? Okay, the next, there's a mosquito in the studio which is harassing me. All right, 45 seconds, all right, each slide. I'm not going to summarize it for you. I'll give you the questions and then we'll go back. All right, let me note the time. Plus 45. Okay. Okay, can I go to the next slide? Okay, next slide. Just get some water and come. All right, next slide. Okay, now if you read this passage only once and try to attempt the question, you should read it only once. That's true. But as you read it, I told you always summarize whatever you understand. Alright, that's rule number one. Second, when you read the questions, go back to the part of the passage. So some of the options you can immediately eliminate. The moment you are left between two choices or three, go back to the passage and read the relevant sections. Alright, my tech guys are saying you are not pressing enough likes. Press like button nahi mila to mere ko, I won't get any sessions with you all. They say, ma'am, students don't like you, therefore. Alright. And I'll be saying, give me a class. Alright, which one summarizes the author's view on history and its authenticity? Let's first read the options. Truth is unattainable in history as truths and lies are inseparable in historical records. History is a mix of truths and lies as historians do not have the experience or the dedication required to separate truths from the lies. Historians document traditions and correct them and leave it open for further corrections by future generations. Historic authenticity depends on the class of reporters of events. We cannot know the history of nations if they are not recorded for posterity. Alright, now without going back to the passage, quickly give me the answers and then I'll take you back to the passage and you will see if you got it right or wrong. First, just give me your answers. You've read the passage once. This is what happens. One of you said, right, slot 3, I got very poor marks. You might have done something like that. I'm running short of time. Let me quickly read the passage and mark the option. Jo sahi laga, you went and marked it and you thought you're done. Okay. When you do that, when you don't cross-check your answers, you make a mistake. That's always the trade-off we have. Time versus accuracy. Right? So, Gaurav says C, Shubham says C. What about the others? Mark the question number 6. That way I'll know. Hemachandra, Ridha, Sunit. What is your answer? Darshan, Jaydev, Jatin, Guru. What do you think your answer? Don't just mark whatever you think is correct. Okay? We'll go back to the passage and then we will look at each option and decide whether it was correct or wrong. Why did I mark it? Right? Guru thinks it's B. What about others? Quickly, quickly, guys. We have so many more passages. First slide had something correct. So let's go back. Let's quickly go back. I haven't got any answers from this side yet. Okay, first slide said that is exactly. Let's go back. Okay, now I'm going to summarize it for you. So first thing he says, the first option said, truth is unattainable. He said truth might seem almost unattainable, but that doesn't mean this might seem impossible is not the same as saying it is impossible. So it is not A. Lies do not all the face of it appear impossible. So what happens is he says lies do not on the face of it appear as lies. So we have a hard time distinguishing truth from lies, and even historians, that's the problem. Only experience and dedicated study can mitigate the risk of allowing false records to pass for truths. One of the options said that they don't have experience to separate lies from truth. He's saying only experience allows you to lessen the risk of accepting falsities as truth. Alright, the life of a man is not sufficient. Our life is not long enough or sufficient enough to learn how to distinguish truth. Therefore, it is the historian's duty to gather the traditions from those who have reported the events in history correct them as far as possible, and leave the rest as it is for others who seek the truth. Therefore, C is the correct answer. Okay? Understood? They document the truth. That maybe they document what they think is the truth, but it is open to correction to others in other generations who will come to seek the truth. Got it? Okay, next one. Which of the following can help a historian preserve authenticity in reporting? Which of the following can help a historian preserve authenticity in reporting? Again, read it. To rely on eyewitness accounts only as far as possible to report historical events, to avoid hearsay as it has many peculiar drawbacks, to follow the written tradition and to correct false reports as far as possible, to take into account the various influences on nations while recording history, to record history negating factors such as divergence of interests and animosities between nations. All these have been mentioned in some context or the other. But what has the author said in terms of preserving authenticity in reporting? That comes in the second paragraph. Mark your answers and we'll go back and see. From whatever you remember, mark your answers, which will basically tell you what is the probability of you getting an answer correct when you do not cross-check the relevant portions for an answer. Alright, so Gaurav thinks it's D, Swati thinks it's A, Darshan, Suneet, Riddha have been very quiet, Hemachandra. Alright, quick, give me your answers. D and A. Alright, let's go back and see. Okay. In questions of historic authenticity, hearsay does not equal eyewitness. Which is better? For authenticity, eyewitness accounts are better. Hearsay is not equal to hearsay's second person accounts. For in the latter, in eyewitness account, what happens? You are observing the event. अपने आँखों से देख रहे हो. You are apprehending the substance of that which is observed, both the time and the place where it exists. Hearsay has its peculiar drawbacks because you're hearing it from somebody else. But for these, whatever the peculiar drawbacks, he has not mentioned it. He just says it would be preferable to eyewitness, for the object of eyewitness can only be of momentary existence, while hearsay comprehends past, present and future. He has not said it here, so where has he mentioned it? In the previous paragraph, same place we saw for the earlier answer. What did he say here? People record the truth, so what will you do? You will gather the traditions from those who record the truth and leave it open for correction. So how do you rely on historical accuracy? Which option would be the answer? A's and D's, no. The same first paragraph has the answer. The second one went into comparison between eyewitness accounts and hearsay. The kind of evidence. What did the answer to the first and the second are the same, though the questions are different. How do you keep authenticity? To keep written accounts. Written account is a form of hearsay. He says in the second paragraph that written account is a form of hearsay. But when you are giving written accounts, when you keep written accounts, also keep authenticity by keeping the kind of reporters in mind and leave it open for correction. Got it? So the answer will be C. Alright, next. Why does the author support hearsay? He says the most preferable form is hearsay. Written tradition is a form of hearsay. Why does he prefer it to eyewitness accounts? Why does he prefer hearsay, or why does he call it the most preferable? Hearsay and eyewitness are equal in all respects. Eyewitness captures events that happen both in time and space where they happen. The drawback of hearsay are too peculiar to be overcome. The author finds hearsay more preferable to eyewitness accounts. The object of eyewitness has a momentary existence, while that of hearsay applies to all time frames. Gaurav thinks it's E. What about the rest? Gaurav thinks it's E. What about the others? Suneet also thinks it's E. Swati thinks it's E. My question. First one, incorrect. This is easy. This is meant to be easy because you are reading it. It's an online teaching platform. You're not reading it one-on-one. If I give you a long, complicated passage, I'll give you a minute and a half to read it, Gaurav. You lose interest. The key is to get you to I'm not teaching you right now. The last lap is not to teach you. I'm only kind of revising the strategies. This is what you're supposed to do. If I give you a hard passage and say, dekh lenge, karoge ki nahi, then the whole objective of the class is gone. Right? That this is a question. If I remember it, you remembered it. You remembered the first question also. Like Gaurav said, I remember somewhere they said that they have to leave it for correction. If you read it, if you remember it, you'll mark it correct. But sometimes I'll tell you the options that are here, exactly like the XAT option, patterned on the XAT options. This is true. This is a fact. This is a fact given in the passage, but this does not answer the question, right? Eyewitness captures events that happen both in the time and space they happen, correct? But why is hearsay better than eyewitness is not given here. Same way, this talks about the negatives of hearsay, so why would the author prefer hearsay? This, on the other hand, just is the question only. It is not giving an answer. This is the only option which gives the answer. So in some cases, there are facts given from the passage, but they don't answer the question. When you are in a hurry, just by looking at the facts which are given in the passage, you say, yeah, this must be the answer. Okay, and then you'll go for it. All right, next one. Okay, not in 22, but in 21 and in 2019, there was at least one passage which had something about microorganism, quorum in bacteria and all. Now, when you have a passage from natural sciences like biology, fish, or penguins, in cat there was a passage on penguins, on some snails and how they managed to, why they survived or why they didn't survive, how did their colonies grow and all. The passages have technical terms in them. Some students get a little intimidated, but they're generally easier. All right. But here again, you should not rely on your imperfect memory. All right. Again, I'll give you 45 seconds for this. Okay. And I want you to get all your questions right. Let's start now. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the passage? Tell me, read the options. I'll give you 30 seconds for it. Read the options. Tell me which slide you want to read to cross-check if you want to. And then give me your answer. Which of the following cannot be inferred? That's the question. Do you want me to show you the slides? First slide and second. Anyone wants to go back to the passage? Remember, when a passage is fact heavy, as this passage was, always a good idea to go back to the passage to cross check your answers. Bhaskar and Guru Prasad think it's E, Gaurav thinks it's C. I'm not getting any answers from Darshan, Suneet, Riddha and Hemchandra. Shubham thinks it's E. Alright. Alright. Let's go back and see. Is it E? Alright. You think A can be inferred? The new dinosaurs' anatomical features are different from that of a velociraptor. Second, the new dinosaur's neck and skull indicate that it may have been a swimming dinosaur. This we know is clearly given in the passage. Paleontologists think that the anatomical details of a Natovenator are conclusive evidence that the animal was aquatic. Preserved ribs of the Natovenator are similar to that of penguins and auks. This also you've seen, and many of you say it is this. Gaurav thinks it is this. That cannot be inferred. The others can be inferred. Let's go back. The very first paragraph. Isko padho. Read this. All those who said E, please read this. The new dinosaur, fossil actually, was found in the Gobi Desert at a place called Herminsav, famous among paleontologists for preserving multiple dinosaur species and other forms of ancient life. What does it mean? That Gobi Desert has fossils of multiple dinosaur species and other ancient life. Therefore, E can be inferred. Why can't C be inferred? Is it conclusive evidence? Conclusive means pakka. There is no debate on this. This is it. What did they say here? Here. In spite of the evidence that is not entirely conclusive, paleontologists think that because of the anatomical features, they feel it's a swimming dinosaur. Though the evidence is not conclusive, but from the anatomical details, they hypothesize that this could be a swimming dinosaur. Got it? Therefore, 3 cannot be inferred. Now you see, passage was easy. Passage is the easiest of the set. All those big words of history, eyewitness, nothing is there. But it is fact heavy. And when you are reading it fast, you don't really notice all the facts. You're not supposed to remember all the facts. You're just reading for the main point. So if there is a question on a fact like this, which can be inferred, cannot be inferred, it's irritating to cross-check. You can eliminate those which you can infer, but when in doubt, look at it. Okay, next one. Which of the following can be inferred? Now you are going to another. You tell me which slide. It had only 3 slides. So you tell me first, second, third. I'll show it to you for 30 seconds each if you have any doubts. But basically look at this. This has the deadly option which says none of the above, all of the above. All of the above is easier because even if one doesn't work, you'll say okay. None of the above is always the tricky one. Okay. Which of the following can be inferred? A, B, C, D, or none of the above. What do you think is the answer? Okay. A slide which has, okay, how do you pronounce that? Halscaraptor. Or okay, I'll show you the slide which has Halscaraptor. I have to first see which one is it. Okay, I'll show you each of the slides for 30 seconds. Me bore ho jayenge. Okay, first one, they found the natto venator in the Gobi Desert. Second paragraph, yeah, this is the slide which has the Halscaraptor. From here, okay, read, tell me when you're done. I'll go back to the question. Done? Okay? Alright, let's now go back to the question. Tell me what's the right answer for question can be inferred, right? Okay, C, A, I've got 2 answers. D, C, D, A, 3 options are done. You know, they call blowing their own trumpet. My colleagues at BYJU'S are saying, guys, like this awesome session. Awesome hai ki nahi, pata nahi. I'll only know it's awesome if you press the like button, right? Alright, what can you infer? Let me see answers. Ridha says C. Alright. A, Sunit says. Bhaskar thinks it's D. Guru Prasad thinks it's D. Alright, let's go. A, there is conclusive evidence that the Halscaraptor was a swimming dinosaur. No, there was a debate. Right? Halscaraptor, there was a debate. What was the debate? It initially was thought to be a swimming dinosaur, but there was a lot of debate. So second time, these guys were very careful to call this a swimming dinosaur. So A is not true. The claim that the Halscaraptor was a swimming dinosaur was disproved, has not been given. They called it, in 2017, they called it a swimming dinosaur. There was a lot of debate on it. Therefore, these people are careful about not calling this a swimming dinosaur until they were sure. So even though conclusive evidence is not there, based on the anatomical features, they said it's a swimming dinosaur. So it nowhere in the passage has it said it is disproved. So B is out. Only a minority agree, we don't know. We just know there is a debate. Whether that debate was minority versus majority, 50-50, we don't know. C is not correct. Some Some can stand for one, some can stand for all. So we do not know only a minority. On what basis do you know, say it's a minority? Debate is there. Who debated, how many supported, how many went against, we don't know. That's an assumption you're making. May not have been substantiated. It's not, he did not say has been substantiated. Therefore, it will be, may not, because there was a debate. So, in the case of this Naptor, whatever, this new small teeth dinosaur, they were very careful before they said this may be a swimming dinosaur. They were careful. They didn't want that same debate again, that same controversy again. So, answer is D. Alright? Okay. Which of the following statements is not based on the premises? इसका मतलब क्या है? Based on the premises means what do you base on the premises? A conclusion. So whenever they say which of these options is based on the premises given in the passage, they are asking you to draw a conclusion. If they say not based on the premises in the passage, that means which of the following cannot be concluded. Got it? So which of the following, and this is the kind of language that XAT specializes in. It's a simple thing. They can ask you directly what can you conclude, what can you not conclude, but they won't. Same thing with CAT. They can ask you what's the main point of the passage. That is for ordinary people. A CAT question set of what is the thematic highlight of the passage. Something that looks, I am worthy. Right? The same way. So let's look at this 11. Which of the following is not based? That means which one cannot be concluded. Give me the question number before you give me the answers. Otherwise I get confused. Alright. 11E, Shubham and Guru Prasad. Fastest finger first. All of you are saying E. Others, quick. Alright. Why did they immediately come on E? Alright, simple. Likely to have been giant saurians. Okay, likely. Was a prehistoric. It looked like the Cretaceous cormorant, it said. Therefore, can analyze, yes, they are saying based on the anatomical features, we think it was a swimming dinosaur. The teeth are small, so it probably caught hold of slippery prey. So A, B, C, D are done. E, it is not. It is not. Why? Because the earlier one also they thought the raptor, the other raptor with an H name also was thought to be a swimming dinosaur and not likely to be the only. Somewhere at the end he says they may come up with more findings. Alright. Easy passage, but we made some mistakes because we were in a hurry. Alright. I know you love poems, which is why I gave you a poem. By a very famous poet called Sylvia Plath. She's no more, of course, but her poems are dark. Read this quickly. I'll give you 30 seconds per slide, 1.5 slides. Next slide. I'll read it again for you. ऊपर से चला गया मीन्स क्या? नहीं मैं पढ़ लूंगी फिर ऊपर से नहीं जाएगा. It's a beautiful poem. Okay, I will not explain it. You will still manage to answer questions. Gaurav, that's a bet. Okay, I am silver and exact. What do you think of this? something, silver and exact. Anyone with even a little bit of science inkling is getting there. I have not given the title deliberately. I have no preconceptions. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately. I have no preconceptions. I don't judge people. Preconceptions. पहले से कोई idea नहीं है. I swallow immediately, just as it is, unmisted by love or dislike. I'm not cruel. I'm only truthful. The eye of a little god, four-cornered. Now, eye of a little god, four-cornered. Most of the time, I meditate on the opposite wall. तो river नहीं हो सकता है. It's something which is kept on the wall, which is meditating, looking at the opposite wall. It is pink with speckles. I have looked at it so long. I think it is part of my heart. Moon कैसा होगा? Guru Prasad. Wall in the house. Something which is put on one side is meditating on the wall, looking at the wall. I think it is part of my heart, but it flickers. Faces and darkness separate us over and over. The face separates exactly. It's a mirror. Faces separate it from the opposite wall. Darkness separates it from the opposite wall. Okay. Now the second part. Now I am a lake. A woman bends over me, searching my reaches for what she really is. A woman, Swati, looking for her inner self. Then she turns to those liars. She looks at the mirror to see her inner self. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. I see her back. She comes back to the mirror and reflect it faithfully. This is what you are. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. I am important to her. She comes and goes. Each morning it's her face that replaces the darkness. Subah hua, she looks at the mirror. In me she has drowned a young girl. In me an old woman. What does it mean? She has looked at the mirror as a young girl. Now she is looking at the mirror as an old woman. Rises towards her day after day like a terrible fish. What do you think this is talking about? That's all. I'm not going to explain anything to you. This is all you and I are reading this in the exam. First one. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the poem? Cannot be inferred. Easy question because it's saying cannot be inferred. Now read. A mirror objectively reflects what it sees. Pehle few lines it says, no, I'm not cruel, I'm truthful. I show you just as you are. So can you infer A or not? A mirror is important to the woman probably because she is expected to conform to high standards of beauty. I am important to her, she says. Why is the mirror important to the woman? Probably because she wants to look good or the society expects her to look good. The mirror calls itself a god because it can see through us. It says, I am a god, four-cornered. Does the mirror call itself a god because it can see through us? The woman's reflection is disconcerting. Disconcerting means disturbing because aging हो गया है, aging. Process has made her unrecognizable. The woman is hoping to find in her reflection what she is. So which one cannot be inferred? Swati thinks it's C, Riddha thinks it's C. What about the others? Right? Why is she a god? Because you go back to her, you try to see. The mirror at no point says that it can see through you, it can see what you really are. The woman looks into the mirror trying to see her own reality. Doesn't mean that the mirror thinks it has supernatural powers or it considers itself a god, right? Okay, so C is the answer. Good. Next, theme of the poem. Similar to the legs one, we've tried to keep a theme question. Let's see if you get it. A woman's narcissistic tendencies, self-love, keeps looking at the mirror. A woman's obsession with herself. A woman's fear about aging and her fading looks. A woman's quest for spirituality, or the focus on superficial beauty. What do you think is the theme of the poem? I know many of you youngsters say poem, right? Oh, I don't say poem, but it's poem. All right, which is the answer? Obsession कैसे हुआ? Jaydev, obsession. Guru Prasad and Jaydev, do you agree with this word? Is the woman obsessed with only herself? When you read the poem, do you feel that the woman is suffering from some sort of a self-obsession? Do you not feel for the woman? Second slide. This is the second slide. Now I'm a lake, a woman bends over me. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. This is what you are. Moon, candles, whatever you see, finally this is what you are. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. I am important to her. She comes and goes. Each morning it's her face. In it she drowned a young girl. In me an old woman. So from the people, the poem doesn't in any way reflect that it's about obsession. This is an extreme word. This is an extreme word. Narcissism is, if it is self-love, Bhaskar, narcissism is self-love, right? He looked at his own reflection in the mirror, according to the myth. He looked at the mirror, he saw his reflection, narcissist saw his reflection, fell for it and pined for it because he could never get his shadow, right? And then he died. So it's not about narcissism. It's about what? Why did she cry? What was the agitation? In it, I drowned a young woman. In it, whatever. So from her youth, she's looking at the mirror. What is she trying to see in the mirror? Aging, fading looks. That's the cause. See, spirituality, she's trying to see her real self. But we can't say it's always. Cannot be superficial beauty. Could be that she's trying to see her inner self in the mirror. There are points. But more than that, every day it wakes up, it rises in front of her age like a terrible fish. So the whole thing is about aging. The young woman to the old woman, the terrible fish. So the best of bad options has to be C. Obsession, narcissism, quest for spirituality seem a little extreme. Okay. Agitation because she's getting old. Right? Okay. All right. What does she mean when she says terrible fish? What is the terrible fish? Here, what do you think it means? What is she referring to? The last line, here she says, in me an old woman rises towards her day after day like a terrible fish. In me she has drowned a young girl. In me an old woman rises towards her day after day like a terrible fish. So when the woman sees her reflection in her mirror, what does she see? She sees an old woman coming towards her. She sees her face as an old woman who rises towards her like a terrible fish. So what, again the spelling is wrong. It is aging, the age, that's what is rising. Every day she sees, oh my God, few more lines. Definitely not me, right? People keep asking me, why don't you dye your hair? I say, why? Waste of time. I can read a book. I can see. Pant didn't score a century today. That's sad. He did. He was on 84 when I had to take a session, and then I didn't see anymore. No, Siddharth. No, no, no. Not from a previous year paper. Tried to make it like a previous year paper. Yeah. It's a poem by Sylvia Plath. Previous year paper has other poems. Every year they give 2-3 short poems. From somewhere they pick up good ones. Huh? Who is the speaker in the poem? Who's the protagonist? Old woman, young woman, personified mirror, symbolic mirror, or all of the above? Who is the speaker in the poem? Gaurav thinks it's D, Shubham thinks it's C. What's the difference between this and this? Tell me. Has it said something is standing for a mirror? Then you would call it a symbolic mirror. In the poem, as you read, did you not get... So the mirror is speaking. Because the mirror is speaking, any inanimate thing that does something that a living being does or a human being does is called personified. Where is the symbolism there? Is the entire poem not about a mirror? A mirror is talking to us, correct? Where is the symbolism? I am silver, it says. I hang on the wall. I look at the opposite wall. So where is the symbolism? Right? Therefore, this is where you will be caught. This is where we are always caught. Old woman, young woman, you will not mark. But the question is personified mirror, easily personified. Why? Because the mirror doesn't talk. The fact that the mirror is talking to us and telling us this is what this old woman is doing, this is what she is doing, makes it a personified mirror. There's nothing symbolic. It is a mirror talking to us. So there is no symbolism there. Okay? Alright, any questions? Select the right RCs. Alright, if it is a difficult RC, remember at least they are short RCs so you can quickly read it and answer at least one question. Do not guess though. Guessing would only mean minus marks. Alright, so cross check the relevant section. The passages are short. Alright, and make sure you get the answer right. 2023 enrollments are on for our CAT batch. We have upcoming sessions every day at 7 p.m. We have the last lap. Nikita, Srinivas, Gautam and Naveen will be taking your sessions from tomorrow till 29th of December. Alright. Thank you, Gaurav. Okay. January 8th, we will have, don't forget to join us for our first impressions and detailed analysis of XAT 2023. We'll have live analysis. All of us, all your faculty, we are taking the test in our relevant section so that we can give you the exact analysis on how the exam went and help you understand how you performed in the exam, and also help us do better in the next session. Teach better, make better content for y'all, make better mocks for y'all, which is what we are there to do. Follow us on all the social media channels where we are there, okay? And make sure you enjoy, you attend all our last lap sessions. These are short revision sessions, they're not so much teaching as just revision of the main concept, so that you go with your head held high and confidence high that I can do very well. Alright, and it's your mindset on the day of the exam which is more important than anything else. You have already prepared well. Attend these sessions and make sure you give your best in the exam. Do not put any unnecessary pressure on yourself. Alright, how to improve my skills for the next year? Jaidev, number 1, read. This year also. Alright, Swati, you have answered your question. If you are getting good marks in mocks and you're messing up on D-Day, it's because you're putting too much pressure on yourself. The pressure of expectations can weigh you down. So just, Vikrant has taken your sessions. His advice to students always is treat every mock as if it's the actual CAT or XAT exam. And when you actually go to take CAT and XAT, treat it like another mock. There'd be no pressure on you. Focus, stay cool and calm, because reading comprehension gets messed up when you start panicking. Same thing for you, Jaydev. Read for main points. The more you read, the better you will get. Articles, editorials. Solve reading comprehension questions and believe in yourself. You did answer a few questions this time, got them right, I hope. Right? So every time you read an article or read an editorial, see if you can identify the main point of the author. Okay. Read, time yourself when you read. Make sure that you just don't take all the time in the world. You do it in small chunks, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. All right. And practice. That's all. We have a lot of these short editorial analysis classes. We have topic tests on reading comprehension, on vocabulary and grammar, parajumbles. So every time you do a little bit of reading, solve a few questions. Okay, then you will. You need to believe in yourself. Language is nothing but believing in yourself and staying calm when you take the test. The moment you panic, you cannot read properly. If I come to a class, when I don't prepare and come to a class, which I do not do, if I have very little time for preparation, suddenly a class is given to me, they say somebody is ill, can you stand in for him or her? That day the class doesn't go as well as I would like it. For this session, I read through the passages, I solved it, I created most of the questions for it, then I know what I'm going to say. So it's all about staying calm, preparing well. All right, I know all of you will do very well. All the best. Join us for the last lap sessions and do join us on January 8th for the analysis. All right, take care. Bye-bye.